Welcome to another episode of the Top Corner Podcast. And today I usually have my date here, so I know.
You sound great though. You sound really good.
And today we got a special guest and the Devil's Advocate. That's the name of his YouTube channel, Mr. IUN. How are you doing today?
Round of applause first. Round of applause.
Oh yeah.
Hit him with every clapping option that we have.
Oh yeah. The Arsenal, the Manchester man.
I appreciate the intro, guys. I really appreciate the intro.
Yeah.
And I guess we're doing the annual season wrap, I guess.
Yeah. No award ceremony this year.
Just the wrap up. We're just gonna talk about the season.
Gonna see the season we have. That we don't need an award show. Consider the season we have.
It's great to have two Premier League guys because I'm a Premier League guy, but I'm more Madrid guy.
No, you're a nobody's guy.
It's in our boat too.
They start losing, at work they say, "Hey, what happened to Manchester?" It's like it's not me.
Yeah. If you really think about it, though, all three of our teams had disappointing seasons by their standards.
Just different degrees of disappointment.
Different degrees.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But the good thing about me is because since I'm not a diehard fan,
right?
I
know
the winner. Like I was a
mercenary
PSG at some point of the season.
PSG, So actually, they were great to watch. So
no, PSG was great to watch. I started watching
them
the Liverpool first leg, and I was like the intensity.
Yeah,
we're gonna talk about them. Yeah. Well, let's talk about the Premier League. First of all, what's the thing in this season that you looked at? Is it a moment, a goal, or whatever, scandal, whatever that you look at the 24-25 season and you feel like you gotta fix it? It's a highlight and a player that you feel like had so much hope, but it wasn't it this season.
Right off the bat with the player, I think is Højlund from Manchester United.
Yeah.
I honestly thought how he ended last season, scoring like 4 games in a row.
Yeah.
I think he's showing promise, and like the talent that we thought he had, is gonna come through next season.
Yes, I still think that he does have it. It's just
this season. Oh my God.
Yeah.
To me, we're playing with 9 men with him on the field. That's how bad he has been.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
Dang.
Yeah, I think that he
wasn't that promising, but he's still young though. He's 20.
Yeah, he's very young.
I was thinking about Phil Foden actually, but yes, I agree. He's still young, but yeah, it's obvious that the aggression coming from that line is just he's not. But also much like Chelsea was, like Man City was this season, it's hard for a single player to keep playing well when the entire squad is operating that way.
That's another.
Because it was like people were talking about. Yes, I do think that like Gundogan is past his prime. I think that Kevin De Bruyne is past his prime, but there's no way that the rest of the squad being in that bad of form isn't hurting them more.
Yeah,
it's not so much that one player is perpetually out of form, but like Chelsea's the same way. Yeah. It's difficult for a single player to succeed when everybody's playing at that certain level. But yes, that is to say that Højlund does leave much to be desired, and you're hopefully getting the no, he's pretty official. Mateus Cunha.
We're getting Cunha.
Yeah.
Like when we talk more about when we come to United section regarding all of this, because I have a lot to say regarding that.
Because for me, as much as I want to say Phil Foden, and I just read an article and he was talking about he has a lot off the field. That's why it's kind of difficult to just blame a player.
Yeah.
Because you also don't know what's affecting behind the scene. But I also had so much hope for him because of this previous season. Like if you're gonna be the best player the previous season and the next season you're not even making the roster, it's critical. Like you can dip in form, but not making the roster.
It's hard for me to say that, like, because some people are saying that he was the worst player in the Premier League, which that's steep.
Yeah.
But like I think from going from the best player in the league to average at best at times, sometimes abysmal, that's the hardest fall. It's the farthest fall for sure.
I just feel like he hasn't played enough for me to pick him as the worst player. And it's kind of like for Manchester City, this is normal. One of their players that was great last season
Mm-hmm.
would just completely disappear for the next season and then reemerge the season before.
Yeah, it's like I can't call you the worst player when I've barely seen you play.
Yeah.
Whereas we've seen Nico Jackson play week in week out, and he is the worst.
And Nico Jackson is something.
Højlund played every single minute, every single game in the Premier League and the Europa League for Manchester United.
Yeah,
and you know
and
how
you can
many,
tell.
like our strikers combined has 6 goals.
Oh my God.
He has 3 Premier League goals, and he has played every single minute of every single game.
That is terrible.
Yeah,
that is terrible, and that is terrible.
Another thing is the refereeing. If next season, especially in the Premier League, because it was not as prominent in other leagues as in the Premier League, the refereeing inconsistency is just too much.
Yeah,
you don't know what's actually a red card because it varies from foul to foul, from teams to teams.
Yeah.
So I think that's the thing that they gotta fix.
You can't trust your experience as a watcher of the sport, or sometimes a former player of the sport. You're no longer able to look at that and make a decision, an educated guess, not because you're uneducated, but because the referees are so inconsistent. You can't look at that and go anymore and go, that's just a yellow.
Yeah.
You legitimately don't know what the call is going to be, and that's been one of the biggest issues that people have had with the English league in particular, is that no one really celebrates goals anymore because they're waiting for something. Nobody really even
feels that high.
Yeah, and nobody really has a strong opinion on the cards or on fouls. So everyone just kind of sits there and waits because they understand that, well, what we understand to be true about the game, while it still may be true, it's just not true in this league anymore because we have so many odd offbeat calls every single week. We talk about it every single week at least once. Something happened.
Yeah, and the crazy part about it is when the Premier League season begins, the first 10 games, we were like, oh, the Premier League is back. You can now tackle people again. And then all of a sudden it just keep going worse in terms of like what is deemed yellow card, what is deemed as a red card.
Yeah,
it got crazier.
And it makes the viewer feel stupid.
Yeah.
By, it's like, oh, I shouldn't feel stupid. I have 20 years experience watching the sport. You're the stupid one. Yeah. But why am I looking at you for clarity when you're the most unclear of all of us right now? It doesn't make any sense to me.
And that answer of what I would change in the Premier League is like the officiating has to get way better. And they need to get with the program. They're supposed to be the best league in the world. The referees need to be the best in the world also. And like right now, the Premier League,
when you're saying there's no options.
Quality, is literally
for the best for the most for the wealthiest league. If anything, if you want to debate quality, fine. If you want to debate quality of players and style of play, fine. You cannot say that it's not the wealthiest. So if anything, the wealthiest league in the entire world, you can't find the referees. You can't find them. You just can't find them. You don't know where they went.
Now we're wrapping on 24-25, and the Premier League finished, and Liverpool won. But Arsenal did another thing again, so we're waiting for the next season.
Yeah. So Patrice Evra said, watching Arsenal is like watching the Netflix. You always wait for the next season.
Sure. Yeah.
Would you take consistency overall? Because every year at least you are top 5. Or would you demand at some point we gotta start winning these trophies? Because if we come close, what is the one thing that's the one thing that we need to get the first place instead of just second place? At this point, do we need to kind of start asking this question to him?
All right, I'll let the Arsenal fan go first and see what he got to say about this.
So I mean, to a certain extent. Yes, if you're second place, if this happens 5 more years in a row, that's an issue. That said, I would still prefer, I think, a dominant second place, which wasn't this season, but last year it was.
Yeah.
Coming underneath Man City under 1 point, the display was still something to be proud of. Yeah. I would take second place, guaranteed Champions League football, but in a more dominant fashion, being just under, and guaranteeing Champions League for the next season than I would being outside the European slots and taking home an FA Cup and getting into the Europa League that way.
Yeah.
Now silverware, I do like silverware, but I do think that being that high in the table of a league such as the Premier League, I still hold that in importance. It's like, I mean, it is quite literally like being in the Super Bowl. It's like, like you lost the Super Bowl 3 years in a row. Like we actually hold NFL teams a bit more in a proud regard, I think, in that situation. If you made it 3 back-to-back years, that means that you're the second best team in the league. That means less in the Premier League to most people. And I don't understand. It's like if you don't win the title, there is no importance in where you placed. And I disagree with that.
I think the difficulty Arsenal is having that is Liverpool that won the league instead of Manchester City, because Liverpool were a step behind you guys for 2 seasons
supposedly,
and then all of a sudden they leapfrog you to winning the league with a new manager, first time coaching the Premier League. So that's the problem Arsenal are having. But to you, I do understand that. Like, look at me, Manchester United. We won. We played 5 finals between when Arteta took over Arsenal to now. We won the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, but look at where we at. So yes, the league is your bread and butter. The consistency of how your team performs is going to be the league. But in order to build a winning mentality, you guys need to pick up a cup somewhere.
I do agree with that.
Because you cannot just expect it to go full throttle at the league and hoping that you win the league without knowing what it takes to actually win something. Because this group of players together has not won a silverware. And I promise you, if they win like a League Cup and they are within touching distance for the Premier League, they're probably going to win the Premier League because they will know what it is to win, and they push them that further. Also, the main point to me is like Arsenal for like the last 3 years, they know exactly what they're missing.
Now
everybody knows
exactly.
And then really fast on the whole, because you do agree that it feels like the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place don't really matter because the end result is the same, right? I think the coefficient kind of distorts the fact, because it used to be, like you won the league, you're in the Champions League, but now we've got 5 teams going to the Champions League, and that therefore means it doesn't really matter where you place, but to me it still does. I think that the more teams that they're letting into the Champions League, the less that the actual numerical order of how the league shakes down doesn't mean anything, because you're still going to the Champions League.
And that's the where people miss the point, like you said, is that you can finish second and still be like 20 points behind the champion. We did that. And that's why we end up where we're at. But you guys are, apart from this season, where to me I think you guys kind of gave up at the end, and when you guys were looking the way Liverpool was doing and you lost a couple of points here and there, you gave up the chase. But the 2 seasons before that, you guys were like within the touching distance of winning the league.
I think it was 2. It was 1 point. Well, the first season was 4 points, I think.
4
and
points.
That second one was 1 point. So it's so like the progress was being made, and there was a backslide.
That's why we probably have to at some point talk about the psychological barrier, the mental fortitude, because you guys Arsenal took more points this season to big opponent than they ever did previous season. And now the question: what does it take to win? Does the group of players Arsenal have now have it in them to go and win it, or we're just gonna watch an Arsenal of 2006 till before it went on downhill?
I think that I think that seeing
that's also another thing, because you could be so good for so long. Like, I mean, we saw Belgium with great teams, never won anything. Netherlands, same thing, and you're just great. Or you're just good, but that one thing you're missing. And at some point, we need to ask, do we need that?
Yeah. And I think that it was beneficial for the rest of the Premier League, even though Liverpool, was it 10 or 11 points that they won the league by? It was important to see them start to taper off at the end of the season. And how they were knocked out of the Champions League as well. They're not invincible. Their performance throughout the season was commendable for their inability to accept defeat, but once it became more and more certain, the more they did slack off. But that said, I do think that we're not talking enough about how good of a squad was already there. I think it was a deceptively good squad that Slot kind of inherited. And I'm not saying like it's obviously his management, but he didn't come in and like completely rearrange or uproot the squad. It was there, and he made use of their skills, but like he didn't do much aside from shape what was already there, and what was already there was a great squad of guys.
Like it's
Except
evidenced
Nunez.
by the fact that he only signed one guy, and that guy didn't even play much.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah.
when it comes to Arsenal, like I like to.
I
banter
forgot he
them.
signed Chiesa.
Yeah, I like to banter them, but truth be said, like this could be their one step back to take a huge leap forward moment because, like a club, Arteta has built the base.
Yeah.
He's just missing that, like the magician up top.
Yeah.
That can score beautiful goal, ugly goal, scrappy goal.
That's
the guy
now,
you need.
because also we have to think about Arteta never got the player he actually asks every season because now this year they have a new director
Who's
I
wanting
think
to
he's
spend
from
more money
Atletico,
now.
right?
Yeah.
And he's really good at these things. And the question is he going to give Arteta what he wants? And if Arteta does have the key players that he needs, is he winning?
And I think
at least
I think that
in the next 3 seasons,
unless Slot is allowed to really spin big and really rearrange the squad, you know what they have, you know what they do. Yeah. And I think that by seeing that squad taper off at the end, they're not immortal. They always start out hot. Yeah. They always wear down a little bit by December, especially if they're knocked out of the Champions League and their morale's taken away from them. Unless they have a lot of people coming in to where, because it takes you a season or so to identify the tactics, the players, the style, like that's why Guardiola was able to do what he did for as long as he did. He was figured out. The style of play was figured out.
Yeah.
That and the people that he brought into the squad weren't able to do that style the same way that a young KDB was doing it, that David Silva was doing it, that Aguero was doing it. So it's a mix of the squad that's in there and the style of play and how long it takes you to figure it out. Yeah. They're not performing in a way that's impenetrable. Yeah. It's not this silky style where like I don't even know how to begin to start breaking that down. You know what they do, they just do it so well. Yeah. So it's all going to still be there from last season.
I think City problem was more like you can expect the same performance they had for like four years in a row, winning the Premier League 4 years in a row. Yeah. There was always going to be that dip that taped off. The reality was everybody expect Arsenal to be taking off the mantle. Sure. Yeah. But the surprise is not the City not performing well. The surprise is that it's Liverpool, not Arsenal.
Yeah, they hit no bumps at all.
That's what everyone is looking
at. That's the biggest surprise.
They should have been your year.
City, we were expecting this because all the players that have been doing it together for 8 years. Yeah. And eventually there's going to be a drop off, and then there's have to be a refresh of the squad. Yeah. What City are doing right now.
That's what we've talked about for almost an entire year now.
Since you're saying that, and I have a lot of guys that Pep Guardiola is the best coach, and I'm not saying he's not in my top 3. Yeah. But we really never seen Pep Guardiola with a low squad since he ever started football.
Nope.
We never seen Pep Guardiola taking this kind of or having this kind of position. Yep. So my thing is, although he has a year, I want to see what he can do next year because I feel like he did not foresee the future, prepping for positions that he should have started changing because you can't change a KDB tomorrow.
No. Yeah. Well, and that's
these are people that actually are never good at the beginning.
Yeah.
They just gain experience.
It's a mix of he's always walked into ready-made squads and he's not stayed long enough to have to rebuild. He didn't have to do that at Bayern or Barcelona. And you're right. And that's kind of what I hinted on, and that's what we've said for almost a year now watching these guys.
That's why my question is, with that, how do you feel about him being one of the best coaches? Because a lot of coaches, like for me, Ancelotti has done it multiple times, multiple eras. I don't put Sir Alex Ferguson in this because I felt like it was more of like a CEO. There's just too much that he was doing. Yeah, sure. And Mourinho, although his career is not like the end is not what I wanted.
Oh, I love him so much,
man. But he's one of my top 3 or top 5.
Oh yeah,
because we've seen him doing it with small squads.
Yeah, his rebuild has been very strange because you can look at just 3 players in the midfield and you'll see it. The lineage went David Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, and even though these guys are sharing the pitch at the same time,
Toure, Yaya Toure, David Silva,
Kevin De Bruyne, Rico Lewis. That's the point I'm trying to make. Rico Lewis, that's the difference, and he's done that over multiple positions where. Not anybody, even you brought them in young and you hoped that they would be good. You hoped that they would be world class.
Yeah,
but none of those guys really ever gave you that. It's like, why is Mateus Nunes actually being considered in that right back position. Well, he's a midfielder. It's like, well, then why the fuck is he playing there? Like, you have the most squad depth of anybody, and you've never actually, like, there's nobody in that roster at a young age that like are preparing for after Rodri. What are you gonna do? That's another position.
Weakness as a trainer,
Yes.
as a coach too,
as a recruiter.
To me, it's like I feel
That's
like
good.
he was good. I think he was planning to leave anyway. I don't think he would like a Pep Guardiola that is fully committed. That's going to know he's going to be there for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
Let his squad get old without bringing new players in the way he did, because
He brought in players, they just weren't the same level and never really were going to be.
So, like, for example, you can look at this from anywhere. Like, the goalkeeper is now like in his 30s.
Yeah.
You got Diaz, and Diaz in the defense was old and it's injury prone. Kyle Walker, who they had to let go.
He's gone.
Right. Kyle Walker bailed them out last season.
Yeah.
Way more than people give him credit to.
Yeah.
And
I think
what
Diaz
happened
did
when
that this season.
and
Even
Diaz
though he was
doing this
injury prone,
season.
he was the best player at most of the time.
So when they brought in the replacement for those guys, I feel like they did not time it correctly.
Vardiol.
But mainly, the most important is midfield. Like, when you lost like David Silva, you thought Foden was going to be the guy to take over the mantle. But
well, really, no.
you can't lose
Really, what it
both.
was De Bruyne was supposed to be the guy, and he did that well. Like that was the whole point. And then Foden was the young guy that was like, we're gonna see that magic happen.
Yeah. But it never happened.
Yeah, when David Silva walked away, Kevin De Bruyne was already pretty,
guy.
like they were sharing the field
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah.
He was never able to really do that kind of a thing
no.
again after the fact. Because
So-
you're right, Toure to Silva to that's perfect.
Yeah.
They're it's an easy transition, and that level is not dropping.
But like, I think they're addressing that problem now, because if you look at who they are linked to, they're addressing the problem. The fact that I think Pep Guardiola realized, I'm going to be here for a minute, because there's nowhere else for him to go.
Because he already spent close to 200 something million already.
There's no other place he can go. He already been at Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
He already been in Barcelona. He can't coach Real Madrid.
Yeah.
He cannot go to PSG
be
because
funny as hell,
Enrique is
though.
there. And
Yes,
Enrique just did the impossible. So he realized that there's nowhere else for him to go other than the international. But he said he would never coach like a Spanish national team because he's from Cataluna. So he realized that he got nowhere to go.
Nashville
Therefore,
SC.
yeah.
That's where he's heading.
So basically, he's like, I gotta rebuild this team.
Yeah.
And that started in the January with bringing in Mamouche, the other guys, and then now
that was the first signing in a long time that felt like that. Like we are actually putting guys into the rotation that have the ability to start right off the bat, and the only reason that you're not is because we still have a hierarchy. It's not your lack of skill.
That's true.
The depth, the depth chart is not according to quality. It's almost seniority, and that's the important thing.
Yeah.
And when we talk about big teams in England, United, for some reason, even now, I think 2 or 3 days ago, they were considered one of the most expensive teams.
Oh,
right. But what are they doing? I mean, you see, they finished the season 15th position.
Man, I don't want it. 15. We are literally.
It's crazy.
We were at one point spent time in 16th place. We were literally a few points away from relegation.
Yeah.
Manchester United was a few points away from relegation.
Yeah.
Thank God for the team that got promoted, because they both got relegated.
I was gonna say on that, they're like, because those were almost record lows.
Yeah.
So like, if you were to look at the average performance of the bottom table sides of the last decade, you guys would have legitimately been in the like
legitimately
Ipswich and Southampton were almost statistically legendarily bad.
Mm-hmm.
So you were
and
really
Leicester
safe.
City also legendary bad.
44 league goals. This is the worst since their inception.
So that's one of the reasons why I pick Højlund as my bad player of the season.
Sure,
is because not only like we were that bad at scoring goals.
Yeah,
we were so bad, like we couldn't buy a goal to save our season. And
you tried.
Yeah, and Manchester United, it just, to me, it's chaos beyond chaos.
Yeah,
I think I want us to go spend a couple of season in mid-table rebuilding ourselves.
Yeah.
And then come back, rebrand Manchester United. But I think like our pride would never let us
I think
do that.
I think the culture too, we gotta look at because Arsenal had this problem too, where I think it was in Emery, they had to change everything.
Yeah.
I think United's in that bracket because I feel like it's not just because we can look at a player. He's a prodigy. He comes to Manchester. He don't perform well. He leaves Manchester, and we've seen it now. I mean, McTominay just won Player of the Year.
That one hurts.
See, that's the difference between Arsenal and Manchester United. I think Arsenal problem was more like the guy in charge in terms of like the player people thought was bringing the bad influence on young players and all of that. Was their best player in like Aubameyang. But Aubameyang is more like the problem wasn't not that he wasn't listening, he wasn't training well, like he was not playing good. He was just not setting the correct example
for
as
the
a captain.
Yeah.
So that decision had to go. The same thing with Ozil.
Yeah.
They had to go.
Yeah.
But the problem...
God, you're bringing back dark times.
Yeah, but the problem with Man United is that
It's the
I can't really say it's the player's culture is because every single player we say, oh, he's the bad influence.
Yeah.
They go somewhere else and they perform like like the players. There's a reason we bought them in the first place. We're like, look at Anthony, what he can do.
Yeah.
Came to United, nowhere to be found. Now going to Betis and look what he's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
McTominay, people call him trash at Manchester United. Simple because like
he always showed sparks of being able to do what he's doing. He's just doing
always
it
been a goal
consistently
scorer.
now. Yeah.
For some reason, we put him as a defensive midfielder.
Yeah. With Fred.
Yeah, with Fred next to him.
Because
actually Fred is doing good too. Surprisingly.
So like
of those two though, Fred was usually the weak link, but he left McTominay open to make boneheaded decisions when he probably wouldn't have been in that position had he been further up the pitch.
But again, he's playing a defensive midfielder.
Yeah.
He's not a defensive midfielder. He's like wonderful, like a number 8 and a box crasher.
Yeah.
You know, the thing is, so back to those two teams again, United and Arsenal, when they have a problem, I think the biggest issue is that when Arsenal has a problem, whether it be within the squad, whether it be the coach, whether it be the guys at the very top, the issue is clear.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's not just that like you only have issues in one area, but when you have an issue in an area, it's easily identifiable.
Yeah.
Boom, that's the problem. Whether it gets fixed or not is beside the point. But the issue was disciplinary, and before that was not spending the money on the right players, and now it is not even spending the money on players, but like just there's a single position that you need and you see it.
Yeah,
it's easily identifiable. There's not one single issue. Like it's not just the squad, it's not just the management, it's not just the guys up top. It's like it's almost like they're overlapping each other.
Yeah.
And to fix one thing, the other one has to be fixed. To fix the other one, to fix the other one, to fix the other one, and that makes the situation very difficult. It's
but
just
so
like,
far, too,
it's like a nest of
United
issues.
fans are angry with Amorim, but for me, I don't feel like I should or people should be angry at him because he took the squad mid season.
He didn't want to.
Another thing is that he can't play what he's used to playing with this squad.
But here's the thing, like that's where like I'm so different from like a lot of Man United fans because I don't care about when you took over or what type of squad you have. Arteta is actually another perfect example. When he took over Arsenal, he did not start playing expensive football. This man has Saka play wing back.
Yeah, I remember that.
He had Saka play wing back.
Yeah.
Now Saka is one of the best attacking wingers in the league.
Yeah.
Under the same manager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how can you say like I'm stick to my principle like until everything else fall apart? I'm like, but that's not the mark of a good coach.
And by now you should know that the three-man back is not working.
I'm not refusing that though. But the thing is that even if he had to pack the bus, this guy don't have intensity.
It's not about intensity. It's sometimes you recognize like what players you have, and what they're capable of doing, and say, okay, this is what they're capable of doing. Here's what my system require. How can I put these two together to where I'm doing a decent job? But once I get my players, we can now fully roll out. And that is the problem. Like I feel like Amorim is having is that like people say, man, he shouldn't have adapt to players. So like, unless you can go buy 11,
you have
23,
to.
so like you have to adapt to players.
That's true.
And also, another mark against him is that name any great coach in history. The only other coach that never have to adapt is Pep Guardiola.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah,
that's the only coach that win consistently that never adapt.
Yeah,
you know that you already have an issue conceding goals. So what do? You stick to a three-man back at all times.
Yeah,
which is actually bizarre when you think about it, because to do a three-man back when your players don't have stamina, they're not intensive. They don't have the intensity required for it, the creativity required for it.
Still conceding goals.
And conceded 54 goals.
See, that's my problem.
crazy.
Is that like people say we are improving defensively, like, but we're still conceding goals.
Yeah.
And like we're
I'm
not
a guy.
scoring goals.
Onana he's there like Ronaldinho. He plays whatever football.
That's another thing. Is like I really do not know what's going on in my club because Onana in the Champions League final, Pep Guardiola, the greatest manager in this modern era, said we couldn't press like Inter because of Onana.
Yeah.
And like Onana made some great save, but we couldn't press them because of what this guy is capable of doing.
Yeah.
Onana come to United and like almost like we don't even know who this guy is, and he was just playing the Champions League final.
He
I have a theory, and
he
I
has
would
to have
defend my
confidence
boy,
in his
and
back.
And I would defend him, and I would say this: Onana is a modern day keeper.
Yeah.
The problem is that the defenders he has can't play the same football. I mean, you saw he's been playing like that at Ajax. I know people see now a lot of the mistakes he's doing. The mistakes are aberrant because there's no defense.
Yeah.
And that's his style. You can't really change it. Goalkeepers don't change style.
For you to be able to distribute the ball the way that he does, your center backs have to have pace.
Now this is where I agree with you that they should have recognized the players they have.
Yeah,
so if Onana can't do that, you have to restrict Onana to
Yeah.
say just send it up front.
Yep.
But that's another problem.
Yeah,
Send it up front to who?
To who?
Exactly.
Hoyland can hold up the ball. So Onana is caught in a difficult position.
That's true too.
Because he can't really pass the ball to defenders because they're not comfortable.
Yeah.
The problem is he can't even pass it to midfield also because there's nobody in midfield that can grab the ball and turn.
Yeah, so your goalkeeper needs to have more agile, limber options to distribute the ball to. So what you're going to do is take your two limber fullbacks and move them up to fucking midfield, and you're going to have three stiff center backs back there to receive the ball. And it's like, oh, and Dallo and Mazraoui already known for not being the best defenders. Let's move them out of the back line and up to fucking midfield so that when you do get transitioned on, you've got nobody back there.
Honestly, like our team, that's where at this point I am indifference by Amrin. I'm in the state of just prove me wrong.
Yeah,
I don't think he's a good enough coach in the Premier League.
Yeah.
No Premier League manager, even Sean Dyche, is capable of playing two-man midfield and don't get overrun.
Yeah.
Not in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
But you're being reasonable because you're not attacking him for not being able to make signings when he came on in the season. That's not what you're saying.
That's not it.
But you're right. He does have to adapt, and there have been certain things that have been very clear, and we've just discussed them about what he could have done to make use of the squad that he currently has. So you do get grace for not having control of the transfer market when you came in. Yeah. That is fine. We understand that you're saddled with some players that were very expensive that are not the quality that the club represents. We understand that.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you're not maximizing the positioning and the tactics to mask people's mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
You can't make somebody become a better player and cover their weaknesses overnight. What you can do is put somebody next to them that covers that. Onana can't distribute the ball without confident defenders. Have him not do that. But also, your center backs aren't pacey enough to deal with it. You need to have those guys in the back.
Yeah.
You have to have them in the
back. If you want to fix United, how would you go about it? Because for me, I think first of all, they gotta recognize they're not the globe days have been over. The reason why I say that is like you said at the beginning, go down, Bill. All these guys are eating wages, astronomical wages, 300K for Casemiro for nothing. You can have 2-3 good players that are just starting their career somewhere else while you're building at the mid-table, playing games every season where you're building your squad.
See, rebuilding Manchester United, I have done a lot of research and a lot of videos regarding how we go about building this team. To me right now is I don't want to buy, we will always have this mistake of buying for the coach.
Yeah.
I don't want that to happen this year. I just want Man United to go buy good players in general.
Mm-hmm.
And it's up to Amrin to fit them in his system because I'm tired of buying coaches-specific players.
Yeah.
Because look at it right now. Last season in the FA Cup final that we beat Manchester City, a city that just won 4 in a row.
Yeah.
The goal scorers were Garnacho and Kobe Mainoo.
Yeah.
There you go.
What happened to them this season?
Not
Couldn't have been recognized.
Kobe Mainoo
couldn't have been recognized.
It doesn't look like Amorim has plans for him.
Exactly. And that's one of the problems I have when the manager like Amrin, I'm like, Kobe Manu is probably one of the best young British midfielders and probably the best midfielder Manchester United have produced since Paul Pogba.
Yeah.
And he's so defensive minded.
Yeah,
You
and
need
so
it to cover your weak ass
defensive-minded.
center backs.
He's also very intelligent reading the game.
Yeah.
If you can find a place for that guy in your team, I don't think you're a good coach.
Especially
I really just don't think you're a good
he
coach.
comes from the academy. He's cheap.
Yeah.
Although
Yeah.
you got to hike up a little
We've
bit
had
his
that
wages,
conversation too.
right?
Yeah.
And that's Manchester blood. It
Yeah.
means he will be
Yeah.
playing for the team.
Yeah.
Then you don't have no plan for him.
And it can't be
Then you have
disciplinary reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
of
of
Not
course.
that
That's
I'm
the
aware.
key. Yeah.
Whereas Garnacho
Yeah,
is 100%
that's the
disciplinary
reason.
reasons.
That's the reason why. But like, see, if you actually take a look at what Garnacho has done, is like you expect Garnacho to be like Yamal.
Yeah.
He's not Yamal. Yamal is generational, once in a lifetime talent. But look at every other 20-year-old. Garnacho is one of the best among them.
Yeah.
The problem Garnacho have is his attitude.
Yeah, he's a little shit.
Garnacho, honestly, I don't blame him. The guy believes in himself so much, and people will say like, that's the bad thing. Like, who has the balls to move from Spain at age 16 years old? I'm going to England. I'm going to go play in the Manchester United Academy, and I'm going to make it to the first team
Yeah.
without actually having self-belief. The problem come when it's also like, it's too outspoken. He don't.
It's the
mince his
vocalizing
words.
of it.
He's
Yeah,
so vocal about it.
Every player should be. Most of them are confident, very confident, borderlining on
But
cocky.
you got to back
It's
it
okay
up
to be.
at some point.
Yeah,
No, but here's the
Yeah.
thing though, like,
and I think he has to a certain
He's the
degree.
only one-
He talks too much.
okay, he's the only one that has been fit, played all the time, no matter what.
Yeah.
And then when they come big time, you decide to bench him. Like, he played every single minute not every single minute, every single round, bring us to the final. And then you bench him and you only gave him 20 minutes. And like, what is that? And then people say like, but he missed so many chances. And like, to me, that's a mark of a good player.
Yeah.
Finishing come later. Like, your ability to get yourself in correct places often,
Yeah.
that is instinct. That's something
Yeah.
you really
And he's
learn.
shown that he can finish.
The problem is his finishing is like, it's mixed.
Yeah.
To me, will come later. And I always go back to the quote Alex Ferguson said. There's one thing that you can expect with young players, that they're going to be inconsistent.
Yeah.
That is the mark of young players. No matter what, they're always going to be
Yeah.
inconsistent. So, Manchester United fan getting on Garnacho for being like lacking the consistency in front of goal at age 20, I like, dude,
He's 20.
your favorite player.
Yeah.
Your favorite player, Ronaldo, did not start becoming goal
Yeah.
machine until he was like nearly like in his 25.
But at least your favorite player, Sporting Manchester United, killed Ferdinand.
Yeah.
And they looked at it, they said, we got to get that guy.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, if you look at Garnacho,
yeah.
he like when he starts dribbling, he would get people off their sit.
Yeah.
He's capable of producing magic.
Yeah.
Like, so that's what I'm saying. Like, is the Garnacho problem is not ability, it's consistency.
Yeah.
But the problem is, he knows he got the ability, he got that magic. The problem is like, people think he's too sure of himself.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
considering what had happened to every single person that have left Manchester United and be even better somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm Garnacho, I'm not telling you.
Not this guy, please.
I'm not letting you tell me
Yeah.
what I can and cannot do.
Yeah. That's true.
And like, Amrin had this quote that he said, well, you have to do it here. You have to do it here at Manchester United. We don't care what you did somewhere else.
Yes.
First of all, if we're going by what you have done here, my friend, you shouldn't have the job. Literally, you shouldn't have the job right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
You
Amorim
should-
kind of shot himself in the foot by taking the job itself, just because, first of all, you will have been great this season because your team won the league,
Yeah.
right? Then you come to a team that you want to instill the same football, you want to force it. First of all, you got to take time to build your own squad, build your own philosophy, and it takes time. You can't just go from point A to point B.
Yeah.
See, that's another thing is like, I think it doesn't take that much time as people make it out to be.
I don't know. I feel like okay. This is my theory. It depends. There are squads that if it's not that rotten, that's why Madrid don't allow that crap,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
right? Because for them that's their philosophy, right?
That was ours also under Ferguson.
Look at Barcelona. Even Barcelona got hit by that because they, at some point, they focused so much Messi that they forgot to build other players.
Yeah.
They had to take. They just now coming back. 17 they were missing in action. 18 they were missing in action. 19 they were missing. Now they're back. I think when they're so rotten, you gotta. The foundation has to be established back. Under Sir Ferguson, 22 years, it was normal because he wouldn't allow that. He knew at what time you need to insert in new players, at
And
what
when
time
to
you need
let
to
go. Let
it go.
That was most important.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why some people get mad at teams like Madrid. Because we already recognize Ronaldo, you might be good.
Yeah,
you
but
probably
you gotta
got
go.
2-3 years. You gotta go.
I think that if Amorim had been able to adapt to the circumstances and actually maximize the ability, the limited ability of most of these players, I think you guys could have been 10th, which makes a difference. You are allowed to take that for the off bit. I think that again, most of these players need to go. Most of them are on crazy wages. So this is a steep mountain to climb. He could have done himself some more favors, to your point of, it didn't have to be this bad.
Yeah.
I agree that it's probably not as easy a transition
Yeah.
as hardly anybody else is going to have to deal with, but there were things that he could have done within the season that would have helped him build good grace with the fans and show that he is adaptable. You have to be able to adapt.
See, and that is 100% like what I'm thinking. And to me, it's like, it's not about even sacking him. It's like, it's buying himself time.
Yeah.
Because the way you
I
feel,
see,
like
I
the
see.
way you
Yeah.
finish the season, right? It's horrible.
That's true.
Like the first 9 games of this next season, and you shaky. You haven't started like as you should. All the knives are back out now, and there's no grace. Like last year when people say it's not his players, he hasn't got any signing, that won't be there. So if you lose 3 of the first 9 games, the chances that you might get sacked because it's not. And that's what I'm saying. Like because of the way you finish the season. Let's say if you finish like 10th or 8th, or let's say he finished 10th, which is one spot worse than Ten Hag did before that.
Yeah.
But his argument is that these are none of my players. I didn't sign anybody. That is a solid argument. You people say, okay, this whole lot need to be cleared out. Therefore, it's fine. You can fix it. And then next season, let's say you don't start as well.
Yeah.
People say, well, what did you expect? He got let go of so many players. But you finish so bad the following year, the following year, and then the coming season, you don't start up well either. People start to put 2 and 2 together like, hey, hold up. You're not what you made out to be.
Yes.
I don't think you're as good as people make it out to be. And that's my fear is that multiple teams look at him during the summertime, and they're like, Liverpool look at him. Liverpool like, we're going to go with somebody else. Because they say this, like the squad didn't fit him. Like if Liverpool squad did not fit Ruben Amorim with like with Trent Alexander-Arnold, who's one of the probably perfect wingback
for your style of
play. You had Van Dijk, you had but Liverpool look at it and say, no, he's not the right fit for us. We pass. That's the problem. We look at him during the summertime.
We got him.
We look at him during the summertime. We're like, no, it's not the right guy. We went and offered the job to Thomas Tuchel, who turned it down.
Yeah.
And took the England job instead. And we're like, I don't think Amran is the guy to the point where we're going to give him the season. So we went back and gave Eric Ten Hag an extended contract.
Yeah.
That's true.
To me, it's what happened between then and like the first 9 games when you sack Ten Hag and then you have to go back to Amran, the guy you thought he wasn't the correct guy in the first place.
The girl that you turned down for that date, but now you're back there.
For me, it's either they should have sacked him earlier and allowed the new coach, whichever coach they pick, to come in before the season start.
Yep.
Or
wait.
Yes.
Yeah, let Ten Hag finish the season.
Yeah.
Yep, that's what they should have done.
So
that's definitely what they should have done.
They had so many options to do something less detrimental than what they did.
Hey,
yeah.
So and the argument is, well, at least he got the chance to figure out what didn't work and what worked. I'm like, okay, keep that in mind because that is like you just loaded a chamber right now for the bullet that might kill you.
Yeah.
Because you we spend like people say it was a half season. Like no, he had 27 games.
Yeah.
There's 38 games
That's-
in there.
that's a-
Like there's
that's a lot.
38 games in the Premier League. He had 27 of them. And like if you had 27 games to figure out what worked and what didn't work, and then you go get a preseason, and then you start a season terribly, well, what were you doing for the last last 7 months?
At least
I agree.
they know what to expect. So next season there will not be any excuse if you still do the same. But next season there will be a lot of headhunters.
Oh
Because-
no, the knives out. If it's
Because Chelsea too is not actually so out of the question anymore.
Yeah, so I do agree.
Because 2 years, yes, but they've been slowly building.
yeah.
Maresca got them to a point where I feel like next season they will be at a level to compete.
He finally figured out what the midfield is. He finally figured out what his
He
midfield
just
is.
needs a striker because man,
good
I
God.
hate
No, he
this
just
striker.
actually play a midfielder in midfield. It's
I-
simple.
Yeah,
Like
And I think that Madueke has to go as well. I was a big,
Madueke,
I was a
man.
big supporter of his for a long time because I do see a lot of skill and I see a lot of what he does well as a winger. The issue is the style of play that Maresca's trying to enforce involves Madueke too involved in that final stretch, and he doesn't have that. He's great on the ball, great pace, great dribbling, great at holding up play to feed the ball back in, but they're wanting him too much to cut inside and be a playmaker.
but it's
And
not.
he does not
It's
have that
just-
skill.
Yeah.
No.
He's good at other things, but the tactics that he's implementing, and he's been very vocal also about not adapting
Yeah.
to my tactics. And yeah, you're forcing somebody out of their skill set, out of their comfort zone, and Madueke just does not have the finish in him that he needs. Neither does Nico Jackson.
Not
But what
to
do you
take
do?
the podcast back, but
Go
I just
ahead.
wouldn't kill this myth of coaches not wanting to adapt.
Yeah,
Like
You know what I think? I think those mentality are slowly dying out. The reason why I say that because when you see the top performing teams last year, their coaches were willing to adapt.
yes,
Yeah.
But that's
Yes.
like no, they like as long as Pep Guardiola is there, people are still trying to stick
Exactly,
to it, stop it. But like you said, Inter Milan
Yeah.
very adaptable,
Adaptable.
and you have like Liverpool
Right.
does not play the same way.
Yes.
Very adaptable.
Even Arteta, surprising because you think about it,
yeah,
when Arteta was just fresh from City, it was the same. It was a replica of City. He was so fascinated with
No,
inverted backs.
That's
Yeah,
what he did in
yeah.
the middle. Like in the
Yeah.
beginning, he started with a very conservative defensive approach, got the players he wanted to become City. But something happened to him when he did not win the league. When like he was 10 points ahead, and then City came and crawled back the lead. Something happened with him where like I don't think I can beat City at that game.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he adapted again, and that to me, it's a mark of a good coach. If you can adapt, realize okay where shortcoming of your teams are,
Yeah.
adapt and evolve your team. To me, it's just like Arteta problem is like I feel like they put blinders on and forgot to plan accordingly because
yeah,
you're relying on one guy. If that guy get injured, which is what happened,
Saka.
like you
and further to your point as well, I think we're watching that Pep Guardiola style slowly phase back out.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
And I think the longer that he continues to fail, the more that the mentality of the tactics are most important will continue to go out of fashion. Because it's obviously like whoever's doing the most successfully is going to have the dominant personality or the dominant sensibilities. But as long as what he's doing and has done is not working, that mentality is not accepted as much anymore and will eventually be very out of
Coaches are
fashion.
so flexible. When you look at Paris Saint-Germain, you look at that team.
Yeah.
I
God.
mean, that we're going to talk about the final, but like I said, I started Liverpool because usually, depending where you start, but it's the first leg against Liverpool. I saw it. I was like, "Yep, that's it." And I told him because although I think they just scored 1-0, but I saw Liverpool, which is usually known for the high press, screaming their lungs out, but I was so embarrassed for Milan for their own Champions League mistake. I mean, what did you do? You go to Champions League, it's a final, and you guys have a lot of experienced players. You don't score at least one. You don't defend yourself.
See, to me, it's like Inter Milan were historically bad. Like even in the semifinals, they were not anywhere near close to the team that played in Barcelona.
Yeah.
And on top of the PSG, just great right now.
That was the thing, yeah.
And that so you have like Inter Milan that drop a little bit and a PSG that is on a mission.
That's true.
And like it was a one bad night.
Yeah, it's a 50-50
in Munich for Inter.
It's a 50-50, I think, of how bad Inter played and how amazing PSG were. I think that if you just sit there and say, well, they were the one of the most horrible performances that you put into a final, I think the more that you focus on that, the more that it takes away from how unstoppable PSG were going to be anyway.
Yeah,
that's true. My thing is I'm not refusing that, but I feel like there wasn't that defensive presence of Inter.
Oh yeah. The mentality was not there at all from the start.
They were a little bit burned out because they were also competing to get the first position in the league.
Yeah.
Why that PSG team actually rested a lot of their end games. They were not playing, and
they locked up their league in March.
They were locked in. They knew and that's why I like their coach, because that's another thing that Arteta has to realize too, because the end of the season he's burning out. The reason is because Saka has played too much games.
Yeah.
Odegaard has played too much games.
Yeah.
And you don't have people to rotate with these guys.
Yeah.
Then at the end of the season, when push comes to shove, you got to show up. No one is showing.
Well, it's almost impossible to lock up the Premier League that early too.
That's what Liverpool did, though.
Yes, and I don't want to just say that it's easier to win the other leagues, therefore you can focus on the Champions League. Like I don't want to say that.
It's very easy to win the other leagues.
But
I get that.
Yeah, it's just it's difficult to be able to do that of resting.
I get that, but you think about it too. The more you're in top, you play also a lot of games, because PSG is going to play a lot of games.
Yeah.
But like you look at PSG, like okay, in the wing, like in one wing you have Kvaratskhelia,
yeah,
and then you got Doué, you got Dembele, you got Barcola, and you have like what's the other?
Actually,
you got like
talking about it, I'm saying now.
Is it like I forgot his name, but he's a South Korean player.
Kang.
Yeah. You get so like it's easier for them to say, okay, like Dembele's not gonna play this game because his hamstring might go off. Barcola come in just as good as like Dembele, if not, if it's just slightly below.
Yeah.
Oh, Kvaratskhelia is not gonna play. Doué is gonna play.
Yeah.
Like Arsenal cannot take Saka out and then everything is gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but to that though, I feel like Mbappe was the idea of playing around Mbappe was the extra point they needed to win it, because they went to the final with him.
Yeah.
But seeing that the team don't have a center person where you play for that person, where everybody is just kind of free, it frees up the mentality of, I gotta make sure this guy score.
No, the biggest difference is you see how crazy those guys, the three in the front press.
That's cool.
You see how they press into those three.
And it's interesting because a lot of people were bashing Dembele 2-3 years previous.
Yeah.
When you look at Dembele of that final, even if he doesn't score, did you see that press?
Yeah, like that's what
The
I'm saying.
goalkeeper
Like,
couldn't get it out.
all three of them, like the way they pressed in that game, it's incredible. And that's why I'm saying like, no wonder PSG won without Mbappe, because I don't think Mbappe is pressing like that.
Yeah.
That's true.
Well, that's not pressing like that.
Yeah.
And important of the press is if one person does not press, the press doesn't work.
Doesn't work. Yeah.
And then you're not able to press good team like that with one guy walking back.
And it's obviously so much about not just the tactics that he's implemented, but the mentality that he's instilled in the players, where they haven't had this big like $80 million signing. These guys are all like Barcola is playing just like lights out, just as much as Doué.
Yeah,
like they're not going out and getting these A grade players and using that to inspire. That it's coming from somewhere within.
Yeah.
Not just within like the players from the academy, but like just the ones that have been there for a while. Vitinha's been there for a little while. He was very young in the squad.
And Marquinhos been there since Project Paris.
Yeah. so it's just interesting that like the answer for this inspiration wasn't just we're a couple of big players, maybe not someone that monopolizes like Mbappe, but they could have said the same thing about the midfield. Well, we need $100 million midfield. It's like, no. You really just have to make sure that everybody feels important, and they're all playing at the same level when they weren't doing that last year.
Yeah. I think that's the perfect example to me. Like Lewis Campus, the sporting director.
Yeah,
that's the guy I want, man. At Manchester United, because that's the second team that he has assembled that won something major, and the way he went about recruiting, it's just like
totally different.
Young, talented players that coming out, maybe you don't quite know who they are, or they just on cups of becoming the superstar.
Yeah.
He goes sign them. The same thing he did with remember is it Lille?
Lille.
When Lille won the league, he was the sporting director,
Yeah.
built that team, and he also was part of the team that built like Monaco when they won the league with Mbappe.
Mbappe, yeah.
He was the original
Yeah,
guy who
he
signed
was
Mbappe from like a Perry team.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's the guy you want. The way he built the team, and then on top of that, when he got a coach, and Luis Enrique that just put it together.
And then the crazy thing about this PSG side is that unlike the Lille side, where you can put together Leverkusen's the same way, where you can put together an all-star squad that wins the league, and they're young and inspired players, and then they get torn apart by transfers.
Yeah.
Nobody in this PSG side
is going to go in.
Who has to go? Like
because they also
PSG is big enough where you don't have to go.
Them, though.
Yes,
but I feel like PSG just came to when I looked at the project PSG. For me, it was the same thing as Chelsea, where they slowly came to the realization that it has to be done within.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
without trying to buy everything, especially for Champions League. Because when Chelsea started 2004, 3-4, when they started their own Chelsea, when they started their own project, yes, they won the league, but the Champions League with the goal, they couldn't get there because they had to pull all these players from till 2010, 11 when it sets down and you feel like, oh, actually, the players to win the league has always been there. You don't need to go look around.
It's the pretty girl with glasses. She takes the glasses like, oh my God, you're beautiful all along.
Yeah, it's about like just not name recognition anymore for PSG. Which is why they're winning now, because
that's cool.
Like they always been chasing the name guy, the big name, but now they realize you can just buy the quality players.
Yeah,
the coach is gonna coach them.
They wanted to be Madrid. That was the whole point.
Yeah.
Is that they threw money at players trying to be Madrid, and it's like that just wasn't what was going to work for you.
You can't beat Madrid at their game. They have too much years of experience. Because right now, Madrid don't even buy players with that amount of money anymore.
Yeah, they've got this new tactic. They just let their contracts expire and pick them up later.
But
it's the draft, though.
Yeah, it's
but
wild.
See, like Madrid is got like run so well.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And guess what? Campos was at Madrid when they stack up some of these young players that are now start doing good here. Luis Campos was there when, like, remember when Mourinho was there when they were buying young players.
Oh, yeah. In
all along,
2013,
build
2012.
Build the academy and all of that, just setting all of that up. And that's what worked. One of the major things he did was the relationship with Real Madrid and Brazil. He set that relationship up.
That pipeline.
Yeah, that reestablish it because Madrid kind of lost it a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
When like the like of Carlos left and all of that, but he reestablished that. And guess the same pipeline they got Rodrigo, like Militao,
and they got like these guys young for free.
Yeah,
so when you're selling them at any point of their career, you're making money.
Yeah,
like they got it good, man. It just and some people just knows how to set team up properly.
True.
That is definitely true. But we're gonna look at the US. We finish this with the team of the season for the UCL. And what are you guys thinking? So Dembele at the top, Doué is one of Doué is so good.
Oh yeah.
When I saw that cut back and that pass aside, that's maturity. Because another player or a selfish player, he would have tried to score that thing.
Yeah,
for sure.
And that is also coaching, man. Like I forget how like people.
Yeah, Vinicius would have tried to score.
Yeah. Oh, Vinicius is scoring. No, not try. He will score. That's the other thing. That's
you think he will score that?
He has the ability.
I'm not saying that he doesn't have.
No.
But if you had to weigh out the highest probability for you to have a goal, Vinicius will take the shot instead of seeing an open wide guy and pass. He will not pass. He wouldn't have passed.
No. So, he will look over and see Mbappe like, nah, I'm shooting this.
You had Yamal.
I
think that game, that second half with Inter Milan, just shot Yamal stuck to the hoop.
Yeah.
Oh man, I never seen a kid that good off the gate.
You know the defense.
Seen Wayne Rooney.
I saw shivering. The defense was shivering when this guy took a cutback, turn around, and came back. I was like, "This is FIFA."
Yeah.
Like ridiculous.
At 17, I'm like, what would I do in 17 years old?
Rafinha, Rice, Vitinha. Any objection? Vitinha and Rice. I do agree with this.
Because these are Champions League performances. These are Champions League domestic. Yes, I agree.
At the back, you have Marquinhos.
Yep.
Bastoni.
Yep.
Nuno Mendes.
100%.
Hakimi.
100%.
So Hakimi is very interesting. I don't know actually if he's a right back.
Oh, he's a right.
He might be a striker with that.
He's a right back. He's one of the to me he's like one of the best right back in the league in the world actually. And nobody talk about him because he played in in Paris.
That's true.
It was night like this to remind you that this guy's actually good. And guess what? He used to play for Real Madrid.
Yeah. Yeah, we could have had the good right back right now. Now we're struggling.
Oh, you guys got one now.
Oh yeah,
Trent.
he coming. He
Yeah.
coming. We coming next year. We gonna be out for blood.
Perfect.
Rafinha on the left.
Yeah, Rafinha.
So I guess this list is pretty accurate. because
Yeah,
these
it's
are
pretty
the-
Yeah,
accurate.
all of them.
and then Donnarumma at goal. I agree with this especially because every single person on this list was at least in the semifinals.
Yeah.
You didn't try to say, oh well, the team didn't make it that far, but this person still played well. At a certain point, it has to be those final groups of guys,
Yeah.
and
At your top striker, Dembele.
Yeah.
Now overall, Dembele I understand, but I personally would give it to the Dortmund guy, just because as a striker, just pure strike, that classical poacher,
Yeah.
he had more goals, and he
He
did
did.
way less.
Whoa.
Guimaraes.
no.
Guirassy?
Guirassy.
Guirassy.
Yes.
Man,
Yeah.
that's the guy I wanted at United.
That's what I told him last
He
time.
finished
This
with-
is the guy. If
So-
Arsenal want a guy that's cheap,
Yeah.
and that will integrate because he doesn't hold the
No.
ball.
Arsenal don't need it cheap. They need it there's two Victors that are on the move now. There's Victor Gyökeres.
And,
You got like the
and
African Victor. You got the Swedish Victor. Arsenal need one of the Victors.
That's true.
You need one of the Victors. Like to
We
me,
talked
like if
about
you
that.
get Victor or like Gyökeres in that team, you already got players that create for him.
Yes.
You just need a guy that
That's
can
why I say you
finish.
can't have a striker that's trying to create. No, we
Yeah,
don't want him.
I agree with
You
that.
just want a Hoyland.
The rest of the puzzle's already there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
mean, well,
you never know. Hoyland
We,
might
we,
work
we
better
sell you
for
Hoyland,
guys.
yeah?
Yeah. Well,
It can work for you guys. Just
Yeah.
give us like you know what? We take £1.
think about how far Dortmund went in the competition.
Yeah.
They didn't go that far.
No.
And
That's
Guirassy
why I said.
Guirassy still scored 13 goals within that
Yeah.
time.
Mhm.
And Rafinha, who made it to the semifinals, scored 13.
Yes. That's why I
and
said.
Barcelona is
just
known
that
for their output.
position
No.
for the UCL. I'm not disagreeing with Dembele, but
Sure.
Guirassy is still if you had to pick Guirassy, is still a good choice.
But the reason why I say it's still Dembele is because the Dembele impact in games
That's
changed
true.
momentum of
Yeah.
how things
Yeah.
went.
And at the end of the day, I mean, if you're building the top squad, your most of your team should be the winners.
Yeah.
Man,
Maybe not the entire squad, but like it should be. Like it should reflect that
I
quality.
think about when Dembele was at Barcelona and he had that downhill and everybody was
And he couldn't stay fit. He,
he
always
could
get
stay
injuries.
fit and everything.
know.
But since he got married,
Yeah.
things started going
That's
well.
what I'm saying. Like,
But what's funny
get
though
yourself
is,
a wife.
Yeah.
Get you away from your boys. Put you all like at home. Go to bed on a decent time.
That
because
might be
when
why
she say,
things are going well for you.
when you say we're going to, I'm tired. I'm going to bed. I mean, you go to bed to no FIFA until
but
you show up at training.
every bit of criticism that he had at Barcelona was true.
Yeah.
It's
No,
not
it
that
wa- it
it's
wasn't
not that
wrong.
he
It
was
wasn't wrong.
playing well,
We
but
just-
something else was happening. It's like he was not playing well. It was
Yeah.
not going well. He was getting injured. He was not getting a lot of minutes. And just it's not even revisionist history of
Yeah.
well, you never saw the diamond there. It's like we saw
No,
plenty of
yeah.
it.
No. For him, there was
Yeah,
always from
and-
Dortmund days.
Yeah.
There was always.
So, you know, like how your mouth broke out right now, and
Mm.
you like, holy crap, who is this kid?
Yeah.
That was Dembele at like a Borussia Dortmund.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That kid was like, oh my God. When Barcelona paid that much money, nobody better eye. It's like, oh,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Dembele. He's probably going to be
Hey.
the next best player in the
Hey,
world.
100%.
that was Mbappe at Monaco.
But you know what?
Yep.
you know, like to me, watching Dembele at PSG, like I'm just happy because like too many times these young talented players that break out when they were so young
They
never
died.
fulfill
Yeah.
their potential. Dembele just did.
Yeah.
He won like he just did. Not only that, he was back to his own home city,
So
brought it back, and like,
before we finish, then right now Ballon d'Or, Dembele is at the top. You know, at that second half of Yamal playing Inter, speculation went through the roof. For some reason, somehow he became the top. But after all said and done, the leagues are done. Dembele is at the top.
But here's the thing,
do
though,
you
like-
think that Dembele will win the Ballon d'Or?
like the disrespect on Mo Salah name, man.
I'm not saying
The disrespect on
no,
Salah
the
is
thing
just
that kills
beyond
Salah,
something.
that's why sometimes Ballon d'Or, like Thierry Henry said, it's so subjective, right?
Yeah, like-
Because
Like the
Salah
season,
played very well. In fact, when you look at mid-season, Salah was top. A lot of people wanted him there
Yeah.
because he played well.
It's still-
But now,
Yeah.
when you start putting international play, Champions League and everything, if you don't win it, and yes, that the World Cup and the Champions League are being played, I don't like those years. The reason is because you can be the best in your league. If you never perform half as good in the UCL, you're out. And
Yeah.
someone could be average in their league,
Mm-hmm.
good in the UCL,
Yeah.
or wins the World Cup, then
Yeah.
he wins the Ballon
If you win the
d'Or.
World Cup, it's over.
Yeah, but here's the
Which I
difference.
don't like that.
The
I
difference
agree.
is though, like,
I agree.
Salah and Dembele were very good in the Champions League also.
Yeah.
And the fact that Liverpool lost on penalties to the team that eventually win the whole thing, and the rest of their tie were not competitive afterward. And like, yeah.
How many times has a Premier League player scored the most goals and had the most assists in the same season? Because he did. He topped out the assists and the goals.
And I think it's one of these.
And won the league in that same season.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, Mo Salah's name is
And guess
being
what?
disrespected.
He's not even in top 5.
It's not, because it's like
that's crazy.
Dembele is Yamal is
It should be a
Rafinha.
3-horse race, I think.
And I have an unpopular opinion. I think Yamal has the wow factor for him to be in there. I'm not saying he's not playing well.
Yeah.
But if a 23-year-old did what he did,
it'd be just
It'd just be
considered
average.
very great. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like the
He'll
fact
be
that he's
great,
doing it at 17 is
it's
something.
the 17
else.
and the genius and
There's a novelty to it.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
The media and
But-
everything.
But let's say if you were, to me, he would be like, as much as I like Yamal, he'd be the odd man out
Yes, I agree.
between like Dembele, Rafinha, and Salah.
I'm sitting right now at Dembele, Salah, Yamal. Personally,
That's what you have.
That's what
Dembele,
that's how I would
Salah.
stack that, because it's hard to deny Salah's stats, but I still think that Dembele playing that well.
I think what they have is
Yeah.
Dembele, Rafinha, Yamal. That's why it's crazy for me, and I'm not saying he's not.
Yeah,
good.
like it should be
I
Salah.
think- yes,
I agree.
It should be
so
Salah.
it's like Salah didn't even make the top 3.
That's wild.
See, here's the thing: if Salah had won if Salah had won the Champions League,
Yeah.
it'd be no question.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Consider the
Oh,
season
yes.
he has, it'd be no question whatsoever.
And
'Cause-
Ballon d'Or is also a media campaign, man.
Yeah.
The best
Yes.
media campaign.
I don't care about the Ballon d'Or, by the way, just so that everybody's clear at home and at this table.
don't care
I
about
don't
it?
care about it. It's an
You know,
it's
I
an
don't know.
individual award in a team sport. It's not filmmaking. It's not the Academy. Like truly, like there are other art forms where individual awards do matter. This one to me,
It's not.
I-
If one
yeah.
individual would go play tennis.
You know,
Yeah, and you
I
earn
stopped
it. There
caring
you
really
go.
about it for this a lot of reasons. I care sometimes. Some years I care. Some years I don't.
Yeah.
Years that I did not really care. The Messi, Cristiano, although you pick one and start debating around, but I didn't care at some point because there was so much push by the media because this was the bread and butter of football in general.
Yeah.
So to maintain those two names, even though there were years that I honestly I saw years that Iniesta should have won this thing,
Yeah.
but he didn't.
See, like that's the thing. The year that like 2010,
Yeah,
like that's when I stopped believing in Ballon d'Or. You know why?
Iniesta.
Not Iniesta, Schneiderlin. That's the year I stopped believing in like
And
Ballon d'Or.
I don't think he made the top 3.
He didn't even make the top 3. He didn't
Yeah,
even
he
make
didn't
podium.
make
I'm
the
like,
podium.
this is just
Yeah.
a popularity award
Yeah.
because not only that, he won the treble with
Yeah.
Inter Milan,
Yeah.
Yes,
lost the the World Cup
final
final to Spain,
to Spain. Yeah,
and then he still did not make the podium.
Yeah.
and the crazy part is
And Messi won.
the person that I would have picked, in contrast to that person, would have been Iniesta, and he didn't win.
At least he would have won the World Cup. He scored in the World Cup final. I would say, okay, the podium should have been like in him
Yeah,
and Schneiderlin and like Molito
Yeah.
for Inter Milan.
Yeah.
Messi should not have been on there because
the most the robbery of the century that was so blatant. Because sometimes you see the robbery,
Lewandowski.
but there's Lewandowski
Yeah.
and there's Messi. Honestly, that 22 Ballon d'Or, I know people say he won the World Cup, but you cannot win a World Cup and don't perform the whole season.
Yeah, we talked about
We're
that.
talking about individual award that is
exactly.
considered for a whole season.
Yeah.
So it means if I perform good in the World Cup, should I just win it for a season when Haaland broke the record that year?
Oh
Yeah.
my God. So like Messi have won 3 Ballon d'Ors where I didn't think he should have. The Lewandowski Ballon d'Or should have gone to Lewandowski.
Yeah.
But because he won his first international tournament
Yeah.
in the Copa America, they gave it to Messi.
Mm.
The Holland, like I didn't know the Holland one. I forgot about
Yeah.
the Holland won the treble,
Smashed
and
the Premier
record,
League record.
and saw record, and he still didn't win it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
And
gets
they still
to the
didn't win
point,
it.
He didn't win.
Yeah.
And then like the 2010 one,
Yes.
where like Messi,
That's where I was like,
I'm like the guy won, and like he did not. I'm like, oh, Yeah, this is just.
Yeah.
Hot off the press, boys. We hate Messi.
No, it's not that. I'm just saying,
I'm
like,
kidding. I'm kidding.
I'm big fan. Of, like every single time
Hate
I
him.
see Ronaldo, I'm like, man, how did you win 5 Ballon d'Or in this Messi era?
Yeah.
Like, how did you win it?
That's
Because
why
like,
at some point I just felt like the whole thing was Messi.
yeah,
I
he
think
was,
because he brought I guess the competition brought a lot of fans and money. But at some point I felt like there was a push to have this guy at the top by all means.
Yes.
Because when in 2022, when I watched a journalist, he had already picked Messi. And when they asked him, his argument was, "You win the World Cup, you're the best." I said,
Yeah.
"What?"
but here's the thing that like, if you go back, Messi fans were arguing against that point, the very point. Because I argue with them a lot. Is like before he won the World Cup,
Yeah.
he said the World Cup does not matter because we're like, okay, you go by the World Cup.
Yeah.
You know who got more World Cup? Pele, Maradona. Oh, but like the World Cup doesn't matter. We have to go what you did with the club team. I'm like, you do realize that Messi actually only won 3 Champions Leagues?
Oh yeah.
People forget that. They just think like Messi only won 3 Champions League. Ronaldo have 5.
Yeah. But Messi had a 91 goal scoring. Yeah.
Like that's 91 goals. Like okay, 91 goals, 86.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At that,
That's
at that
that's
point,
not a
I
big
agree.
difference.
Yeah.
But there's difference between 3 Champions Leagues and 5.
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree with that.
And the crazy part is, he also lost 1 too.
Yeah.
So Ronaldo had 5. He went to 6 finals, but he lost 1.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
they like the media has never said
No,
all of
they
that. They
never-
just and like
It's a big push.
the biggest like they say, oh, the Champions League is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I like, well, Ronaldo won more than Messi in that tournament, and he's the top goal scorer and top assist in the tournament.
That's true.
Where's Messi?
2015.
Until
Remember.
when Messi won the World Cup, the net
No,
flip.
it's
Now he won the World Cup. It's the greatest ever.
my
Like,
dad,
yeah.
I called my dad. He said, "It's FIFA's boy. What do you expect?" Hey guys, this is a great show.
Yeah.
A round of applause for
Beautiful.
you. Go on Spotify,
Spotify star review,
Instagram, TikTok, whatever, and get it. And you go on the Devil's Advocates 5.
Yes. Link in description below.
Yes.
Description.
Go and get us likes. Turn on your bell
Yeah.
notification.
Ring
Thank
that
you
bell,
guys. Yeah,
bitch.
thank you guys for having me in the podcast. And yeah, do all of that, guys. Hit the like
Do everything
button,
you can.
comment.
Subscribe.
Just, if you disagree with our opinion,
Hey.
let us know.
You feel free.
Yeah.
Bye.